from 1997 when I saw you started working on innovations and digital innovations in that time when nobody was talking much about innovations. Then in 2013, you joined Niti Central, started working on data analytics, built India's biggest, you can say, electoral database and something of that sort. So your career is where you were always ahead of the curve, sir. Yeah? And now you are with Sarkari organization, government organization. So, sir, how this new system is treating you? So, how difficult or how easy it is to work with government organizations? Sir?
Very interesting question. I think you're the first to use the phrase ahead of the curve. I think now with the Sarkari system, I'm flattening the curve. So, so let me just rewind back. You were talking about my career. Actually, my first job was a Sarkari job. Okay. So in '95, when I graduated from IIT Bombay as a chemical engineer, I came to Delhi. My first job was in Delhi with a consulting firm called Engineers India Limited. It's a public sector unit. Those days, we used to live in Gurgaon, where practically it was barren land. Gurgaon was just about emerging as an urban center. And interestingly, AIL used to have an office on Parliament Street in what is known as the PTI building. And so in 2016, when I became a part-time member of the Prasar Bharati board, the Prasar Bharati board also was sitting in PTI building. So it was like, 20-year, the clock turned all the way around. And there I was back in the same Sarkari buildings that once I used to visit. So back then in '95, internet was just about, making its presence felt in India. At IIT, we used to have access to the internet because of the ERNet. But then when I joined EIL, I realized that, my entire batch was abroad. And I was one of the few who were, who stayed back in India. And those days, email on the internet was only accessible either if you were at an IIT or an IISc through ERNet, or some of the R&D units used to have access to ERNet. So at EIL, the R&D unit was also incidentally in Gurgaon, in the same office building. And they used to have one machine, which is a DOS machine, which used to run an email client on UUCP. And one common ID, one common inbox for the entire office. So I got to know about that they have email here. So I shared it with my classmates. And then, of course, the entire batch was just abroad. So daily, I would get 50 to 60 emails on that common email box. And so the word got around that, there is a new trainee who has joined, who's getting 50 to 60 emails a day on the common email server. And so the general manager called me. So I was really scared. I thought, I'm in trouble. So he says, I heard you use the email a lot. I said, yeah. You know how to use the VI editor because it had a VI editor interface. I said, yes. He said, great, here is a floppy, go type these emails because he wanted to send emails. And so there I became a typist. So that's how my whole tech journey started, where I stopped being a chemical engineer and I started being more of a software engineer. So I set up one of the first rudimentary websites of EIL back then. And those days, the pollution around the Taj complex was a big issue. And EIL used to do the air quality monitoring. And so they needed access to a simulation software, which was available at the US EPA website, open source software. And nobody had a clue how to download it. So that is when we first discovered Mozilla, the web browser. And on a 14.4 kbps modem, over a week, we downloaded this simulation tool. So I ended up, learning a lot more on tech and software. So naturally, within a year, I had to quit my Sarkari job. And then that's when I joined Infosys, moved to Bangalore. So I was at Infosys for almost 16 years, most of it abroad, and worked in various diverse fields. And then, of course, after that came Niti Digital, where we did the digital campaign. We had India Votes, which was one of the largest open electoral databases for doing analysis. And then I joined the Prasar Bharati board as a part-time member in 2016. and then came here as a CEO in 2017. So to your question on how is the experience in the Sarkari environment, I think I'm one of the few lateral entrants who is
similar to me.
At where I've had to manager set up, where the entire hierarchy below you is permanent, regular government employees and so on. The other unique challenge about Prasar Bharati is the age profile, where I remember when I joined Infosys, and Mr. Narayan Murthy used to, in his speeches, mention it quite often that the average age at Infosys is in the 20s. Right? You go around the campus every here, the average age is in the 50s. So to go from that environment to this environment is a huge change. And so the challenges are many. I don't think I've turned around Prasar Bharati, though I mean I would like for that to be said. I think we are still far away from that point. But what we have done is at least we've started the process. We've started the process of that turnaround. Its fruits will probably take a few years for us to really experience. When I came here, the entire decision making was paper based. I would get volumes of paper. At my entire career in Infosys, I don't recall ever having signed my name on any piece of paper. And here, in a day, I was doing like 40, 50 times. So that itself was a big shift. So one of the first things that we started was that,